Hello, everybody. In Chapter 14, we're going to be talking about developing and pricing goods and services. So, in this chapter, we're going to be talking about product development and total product offer, product differentiation, packaging changes, the product, branding and brand equity, the new product development process, the product life cycle, competitive pricing, and then non pricing competition. So, we're going to be kind of building everything we did in the last chapter with marketing, sort of getting a plan put together, and then also translating it on to the product now and with product development. So, developing value. According to the American Marketing Association, value is foundation of marketing. So value is, good quality at a fair price, something that we want all products and services to have. Adapting products to new markets is an ongoing challenge, and then product development is key activity in many modern businesses. So products consumers won't give up. So internet and cell phone service, premium television, discount apparel, haircuts and coloring, and fast food. So I disagree with a couple of these just because we are seeing kind of a change in television to where more people are cutting the cord and just going to like streaming services. So I would say that's one of the items that consumers are willing to give up. As far as internet and cell phone service, I would agree with that. Where most individuals aren't willing to give those up. Discount apparel, you look across the landscape, someplace like an Old Navy. I feel like they do really well just because they do offer affordable clothing for everybody in the family. Haircuts and coloring, that's just something. I mean, typically everybody has to have a haircut. Individuals will get their hair colored, and that's just kind of one of those things that kind of make us feel good, make us look a little bit better. So yeah, that's another thing that people aren't going to give up. Fast food, I would say that people will give up fast food. It's just food in general that people will give up. So whether they're giving up fast food and maybe trying to eat a little bit healthy. That might be something that people look for, look to do. But overall, giving up fast food, I feel like a lot of people have probably given up fast food more so in the last probably 10 to 15 years, than years past. So some of these products that are expendable, with spending cuts. So luxury handbags, satellite radio, specialty apparel, high-end cosmetics, facials. I currently have Sirius XM. One of the issues with that is it's about $150 to $200 a year for that subscription, and that's one of those things where it's just like, well, do I cut it? Do I go more towards like a Spotify situation? Do I, go out on YouTube and you start to get a subscription there? There's tons of like, free subscriptions with like Spotify, but you can also do like a paid subscription through Amazon for Amazon Music, which I think is only a couple bucks a month. Same way with YouTube, they have a music subscription as well. iTunes has various resources as well. So tons of different options out there to where you can kind of cut some of these, expendable items. So distributed product development. So that's just handing off of various parts of your innovation process often to companies overseas. So kind of that outsourcing that we've talked about in the past. So the increase in outsourcing has resulted in using multiple organizations separated by cultural, geographic, and legal boundaries, which we've talked about the differences between cultural and geographic areas, and also like the legalities behind it, how one country might do something a little bit different than other countries. And then, you do have the total product offer, which is everything that consumers evaluate when deciding whether to buy something. Products are evaluated on many different dimensions, both tangible and intangible. Marketers must think like and talk to consumers to find out what's important. So we talked about that in the last chapter as far as reaching out with the consumer, kind of figuring out what's the most important parts of them, and then tailoring a product to those individuals. So Apple, Samsung, and other smartphone makers are fighting for a greater share of huge mobile market. Each continues to improve and add features, hoping to win customers. What features would a smartphone company have to add to its product offer in order to convince you to switch your phone or carriers? I have had an iPhone, I'm going to say, for about, trying to think, since I pretty much got out of college. So it's probably going on close to 8 years now, at this point that I've had an iPhone. I had a Samsung before that. I didn't necessarily care for the Samsung. I just thought the overall quality of the phone wasn't the best. And since I've switched to an iPhone, I've had nothing but great quality with it. I will say the one thing that Samsung and Android phones have over iPhones is they're a little more customizable. You can do different types of things with it. I have several friends who have either Samsung or Android phones, and they are able to customize them. They're a little more tech savvy than I am. I just like a plain kind of basic phone that works. I don't have to relearn anything. The one great thing about Apple is they're not reinventing the wheel with anything. They just continue to make improvements to their product. When you look at like Samsung, Samsung just recently here came out with a foldable phone, which has kind of been a huge disaster. I'm not exactly sure who wants a foldable phone. I mean, you might get a bigger screen with it or something along those lines, but I think for the most part, nobody's really asking for that foldable phone. Famous foods and their developments. So I'm just kind of going to go over a couple of examples here about how things have changed, throughout the years. We talked, last slide about Apple, about how they've, improved their iPhone. So McDonald's chicken nuggets. So they were invented in 1983. They introduced all white meat in 2003, just because usually, the consumers can perceive all white meat as a little bit healthier. They did reduce antibiotics in 2015, and then in 2016, they removed all artificial preservatives into that. So throughout the years, you can see that they've continuously made it a little more healthy. Now, chicken and McNuggets are deep fried, so I don't necessarily know how healthier they are in the first place, but they have made little changes to that to hopefully try to help out the consumer in their thought that maybe they're not as unhealthy as they originally thought. So Burger King fries, original recipe in 1953. They changed the recipe in 1997. Changed his recipe again after complaints in 2001, and then they introduced Satis fries in 2011 and eliminate Satis fries in 2014. I actually don't eat French fries all that much, so I can't tell you too much about the changes in the Burger King fries, just because that's not typically a place that I go to all that much. McDonald's fries, I mean, for me, that's kind of like the Cadillac of French fries, if you will. So I mean, uh, they're probably not going to be changing that recipe too much. We do have Oreos, invented in 1912. They removed trans fat in 2006, and then introduced 40-calorie version. So Oreo Thins in 2015. Once again, a movement toward trying to be a little more healthy. Especially with like a 40-calorie version, to where you can still eat Oreos, but you're not consuming as many calories with them. So those individuals who are trying to watch their weight, trying to lose weight, they can still enjoy a little bit of a snack, a little bit of sweet with Oreos, but just at a lesser amount. So product line. So that's going to be a group of products that are physically similar or intended for a similar market. Product lines often include competing brands like Coca-Cola, Diet Coke, Coke Zero, and Cherry Coke. I mean, at its core, it's all Coke, but it's just different variations to kind of reach different markets and different segments. Excuse me, you do have Diet Coke, maybe those individuals who aren't one consuming as many calories. Zero, Coke Zero, I think it's supposed to have 0 calories in those, and then Cherry Coke, just a little bit of a different taste. We have a product mix, which is the combination of product lines offered by a manufacturer. So product mixes like Procter and Gamble's can be extensive, such as toothpaste, cosmetics, diapers, batteries, bar soap. All of these are household items, and that's kind of what Procter and Gamble really specializes in. But overall, they do have a wide variety, and then that way they can reach out to pretty much all those household items throughout the house. Product differentiation. So that's going to be the creation of a real or perceived product differences. So marketers use a mix of branding, pricing, advertising, and packaging to create different images. So marketing difference between or marketing classes of consumer goods and services. Convenience goods and services, so products that consumers want to purchase frequently and with a minimum effort. These include, candy, snacks, gas, milk, pretty much anything that you're going to go to the convenience store and kind of buy. So, kind of those quick items to where you're not going to, do a whole lot of research in. You're just kind of going to go to the grocery store. You're going to go to the convenience store. You're going to see it in front of you. You're just kind of going to grab whatever looks, best to you at that point, and then go from there. So, it's a lot of like in the moment type of feeling. Shopping goods and services. So those are the products that consumer buys online after comparing value, quality, price, and style from a variety of sellers. So maybe something like a pair of tennis shoes. Maybe you're spending about $100 bucks, $120 on a new pair of tennis shoes. So you want to do a little more, research into it, find out exactly, what's going to be the most comfortable pair of shoes for you, what's kind of stylish for you. You definitely want a good quality pair of tennis shoes, especially if you're spending $100 on them. And then overall price. I mean, are you able to find a very similar pair of shoes for a better price someplace else? Shipping plays a role into that these days. If you're buying something online, is it going to be free shipping? Or are you going to have to pay $10 for shipping? And then just a variety of styles that you might have, different colors. Maybe you want a blue pair of shoes, green pair of shoes, red, whatever it might be. So specialty goods and services, consumer products with unique characteristics and brand identity. Because these products are perceived as having no reasonable substitute, the consumer puts forth a special effort to purchase them. These include, fine watches, expensive wine, designer clothes, jewelry, services provided by medical specialists. So, there's tons of advertisements out there for, things like fine watches, expensive wine, designer clothes. We all kind of get, hooked into it. I hate spending money on, really expensive things. I wear a Timex watch every day. You can get a good Timex watch for about $100, and they're, really stylish. Now, fine watches, they will tell you that, it's an investment, it's something that you can pass down to your children, that sort of thing. If you want a Rolex watch, that's probably going to cost you anywhere between $8,000, and they can go all the way up to, hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy. So, I mean, if maybe you can get like a used Rolex, something like that. But at the same time, if you're going to be spending $10,000 on a watch, you might as well go out and just buy a used automobile for that matter, just because it's probably going to get a little more use out of it, and it's probably something that you're going to be using on a daily basis where, a fine watch like that, that's just a huge investment that you're going to have to put into it. But, there are those individuals who are willing to spend, money on those, items, and if they're willing to spend it, that's, kind of the reason why that marketplace is out there. So unsought goods and services. So these are the products that consumers are unaware of, haven't necessarily thought of buying, and find that they need to solve an unexpected problem. Some of these include, car towing services, burial services, insurance. So it's mainly kind of those you're thinking about it after the fact. So, if you do have car issues, your car breaks down in the middle of the road, you're going to have to contact a car towing service. It's not one of those things where you probably have a regular car towing service that you deal with, regularly, just because you hope your car isn't going to break down all that much. Same way with burial services or like funeral homes. Hopefully you don't have loved ones that are passing away all that often, so you're probably not going to be reaching out to a funeral home unless you do have that loved one that has passed away. So consumer versus industrial goods. Many goods can be classified as consumer goods or industrial goods based on their uses. For example, a computer that a person uses at home for personal use would clearly be a consumer good, but the same computer used in a commercial setting would be classified as industrial good. What difference does it make how a good is classified? So I would say, as far as consumer good versus an industrial good, especially in this situation, the industrial one might have a little bit more storage, a little more capability, a larger battery in it for larger battery life. And that's what most of the time, if Apple is selling to the consumer or if they're selling to a business, they will offer kind of those different, products for them. And then you just have to reach out to, your Apple representative on that. So even though they might tell the consumers that, oh, yeah, it's the same product, 9 times out of 10, it's really not the same product. So here are some of the odd products throughout the years that ended up being successful. So Pet Rock is something we've probably all heard of. So for $3.95, you could buy a gift wrap rock with eyes and a training manual. That's just an idea that came out of the 70s where an individual was just like, hey, I'm going to start selling these pet rocks just kind of as a joke. And then he became a millionaire overnight. Garbage Pail Kids, perhaps the grossest trading cards ever produced. I remember those from my childhood. You've got mood rings, which were wildly popular as changing colors of the ring supposedly measured your mood. It's kind of a temperature gauge on mood rings. So, I mean, if your hands are hot, it goes to one color. If they're cold, they go to a different color, and that's supposed to reflect, your mood. Chia pets, animal shaped and even president shaped clay figures that grew sprouts. So pretty much all of these things. I mean, you can kind of get, Chia's Pets, especially. You can still get those at like Walmart or Kmart and different places like that. Industrial goods. So products used in the production of other products, sometimes called B2B goods. So industrial goods include, installations, capital items, accessory equipment. And moving on here, we've got companies that often use packaging to change and improve their basic product. So examples include squeezable ketchup bottles, square paint cans with screw tops, and then single-use spice packets. So I know, like breweries, they're always bringing out some sort of improvement to their cans for their beer and everything. Like Miller Lite, they did that. I'm trying to think. They did the wide mouth vents a couple of years ago. Supposedly the beer would come flowing out faster. Coors Light, they started doing the cans that would change colors depending on how cold they were. If they're as cold as the Rockies, that sort of thing. And it seems like every year there's always some sort of improvement, to beer cans to where it's just a marketing ploy to get people, to buy these products to try them out. So good packaging can also make a product more attractive to retailers. Key functions of packaging, so it attracts buyers' attention, protects the goods inside, and tamper-proof, can be opened easily, describe and give information about the product, explain the product's benefits, provide warranty information and warnings, and give an indication of price, value, and uses. So innovative packaging can make a great product look even better. Just ask the owners of Thelma's Treats, a bakery in Des Moines, Iowa, that packs all its delicious cookies in boxes resembling an old-fashioned oven. Can you think of any other food brands that use interesting packaging? I was just talking about like beer cans, kind of how they have different packaging for theirs. Like one of the classic examples is just cereal. Whenever you go down a cereal aisle, everything is very brightly colored. That's done on purpose, hopefully to draw in kids into getting different types of cereals. But yeah, you do have like different marketing ploys, kind of like this Thelma's one, where it does look like an old timey stove. Bundling, so grouping two or more products together and pricing them as a union. Iceland Air bundled layover tours with Iceland Air employees stop over buddy. And then financial institution bundle advice with purchases. I would say one of the classic bundles that we see nowadays is bundled with like DirecTV and AT&T for your cell phone service and your TV package. That's a pretty common thing that we're seeing nowadays. Verizon does a lot of bundling between, having internet service, having your phone service, any sort of television service that Verizon has to offer as well. So a brand, that's going to be a name, a symbol, or design that identifies goods or services of one seller or group of sellers and distinguishes them from the goods and services of competitors. And then you have a trademark, which is a brand that has exclusive legal protection for both its brand name and its design. So some of the names that we've probably never even thought about. So I was just actually thinking about this the other day, and then it popped up on the slide whenever I was prepping, is Amazon. So why did Jeff Bezos choose the word Amazon? So he wanted a name that would be near the top of an alphabetical list. You've got Spotify, which those are the words spot and identify were mashed together. Pepsi came from the word dyspepsia, meaning indigestion, to show that the drink could help aid in digestion. And then WD-40, which the first 39 attempts were busts, but the 40th attempt worked. And then the WD on that stands for water displacement, meaning that it draws out water, and that's why you use it a lot of the time on like garden tools or hinges, different things like that that might have like a little bit of rust from being left out in the weather that has water on it. So how to pick a name for a company or a product. So ensure it's what customers will actually call the product or company. Make certain it's easy to remember, not necessarily clever. Keep it short and sweet. Don't add extra words. I mean, if you have a really lengthy title, nobody's going to ever really remember that. Test out your ideas. That's the great thing about social media these days, where you can kind of, run some ideas to different people out there, and then use the name as much as possible. Get that name recognition out there. So brand categories, you have manufacturers brands, so the brands of names of manufacturers that distribute products nationally, and then you've got dealer brands, which these are the products that don't carry the manufacturer's name but carry a distributor or a retailer's name instead. You've got generic goods, which are non-branded products that usually sell at a sizable discount compared to national or private label brands. A good example of this, like if you go to Walmart, great value, that would be kind of like their version of generic goods. And then you've got your knockoff brands, which are illegal copies of a national brand name good. If you ever see like on the internet, like Asia, they have a really bad problem with knockoff brands, to where you can go over there, you can get designer handbags and everything that look really close to the designer handbags that we have here in the United States, but they are knockoffs. Brand equity, so this is going to be the value of a brand and name associated with symbols, and then brand loyalty, to the degree to which customers are satisfied, like the brand, and are committed to further purchases. It's kind of like, I had a friend in college who he was really brand loyal to Coca-Cola, would never drink Pepsi. I know there's tons of people out there kind of like that, and I mean, we all kind of have the way we look at different brands. Whenever we go to the grocery store, we might only buy, a certain type of sugar or a certain type of flour. For me, I really like Dasani water. I don't understand why that is. I just think it has probably like the best tasting water. I'm not a big fan of spring water. So, just different things that we kind of take into consideration whenever we're looking at different brands. So here's some of the origins of automobile symbols. So if you look at Volvo, if you can look at their symbol, it's the symbol for iron. Lamborghini, the company founder zodiac sign was a Taurus, so their symbol is a bull. One of the cool things to know about Lamborghini is Lamborghini actually started out as a tractor company. And Mr. Lamborghini, who started the company, whenever he had a Ferrari at the time, and he wanted his Ferrari worked on, so he took it to Enzo Ferrari to get it worked on one day, and he wasn't working on it very fast. And then he called him one day. He goes, "Well, when's my car going to be done?" And Enzo Ferrari wasn't too concerned, because he was just a tractor maker. So Mr. Lamborghini got kind of pissed off, and he went out and started his own company, and now we have Lamborghini. Volkswagen, that was just a product of an office contest. And then you do have Porsche here, which is a coat of arms for a city and state headquarters. So the 6 rules of branding, you want to keep it simple. Don't just improve, you need to reinvent your sector. Embrace big ideas. Use strong symbols for customers to easily identify. Give customers a reason to seek out your company, and then communicate regularly with your customer base. And that last one is really easy to do, especially now with social media. As far as use strong symbols for customers to easily identify, I think pretty much any great brand has a great symbol or a great logo. Sometimes they will switch up logos a little bit, but you never see, drastic changes in logos. If you do see a drastic change in logo, they're probably trying to rebrand and try to kind of reinvent themselves, which means they probably got into a little bit of a bad situation. Brand awareness, so that's how quickly or easily a brand name comes to mind whenever a product category is mentioned. Consumers reach a point of brand preference when they prefer one brand over another. And then when consumers reach brand insistence, they will not accept substitute brands. Brand association, the linking a brand to other favorable images, and then a brand manager. So this is a manager who has direct responsibility for one brand or one product line. The brand manager handles all the elements of the brand's marketing mix. So a lot of these companies here you might think are made in America, but they're actually made someplace else, and that just goes to branding. So Budweiser, I mean, they're the king of beers. They were originally a United States company, but they ended up getting bought out by InBev. It's probably been going on probably 15 to 20 years now that InBev ended up buying them out. So they're actually based out of Belgium and Brazil. You got 7-Eleven is actually based out of Japan. Firestone, same thing, Japan. Frigidaire out of Sweden. Holiday Inn, UK. So I mean, these are very recognizable U.S. brands that we might think are here in the United States, but that's actually not the case at all. But it comes down to branding and just the overall portrayal of those brands. Product screening. So this is the process designed to reduce the number of new product ideas being worked on at any one time. And then we also have product analysis, which is making cost estimates and sales forecasts to get a feeling for profitability of a new product idea. So if you are coming out with a new product, just kind of throwing it out there to a research group, kind of figuring out what kind of costs are going to be associated with that, and then ended up figuring out how much profit can be made off of that product. So here's the new product development process. So you start out with an idea generation based on what consumer wants or needs. You go through the screening portion of it. You do an analysis based on that screening. Continue to develop on that, include building prototypes, do some testing on it, and then commercialization, which means bring it to the marketplace. So how to bring a new product to the market. So build it up slowly when starting up. Don't go too fast. Design for a single function. Pick one function and make it the best you can. Package it perfectly. Unboxing your new buy is the best part. Making it exciting to open, and then become a status symbol, making it something to show off. Product development and testing. So this is concept testing. Takes a product idea to consumers to test reactions. You've got crowdsourcing, which are platforms allowing the public to give their opinions on potential products. So you can kind of throw that out to the general public, kind of see what they think about it, and they'll give you some feedback on it. Commercialization, promoting a product to distributors and retailers to give a wide distribution, and developing a strong advertising and sales campaigns to generate and maintain interest in the product among distributors and consumers. So Prisma Guitars co-founder Nick Pourfard began making guitars after a skateboarding injury left him immobile for 6 months. Now his company uses old skateboard decks to create colorful and sustainable instruments. Do you own any products made out of recycled materials? I thought this was kind of a cool idea. This isn't a company that I'd heard about before, but anything that involves recycled materials that's very trendy these days. The one thing that comes to mind is Adidas. I think it was last year they came out with some of their shoes that were made out of water bottles that they got from the ocean, and they recycled those materials, and it ended up being like a huge hit for them. So anytime you can kind of promote kind of clean living, cleaning up the world, kind of that green initiative, those are going to work well just from a marketing standpoint, and then also, I mean, it does benefit the world as a whole. So same products, marry your feel. So these are just kind of some products that throughout the years kind of put a little bit different spin on everything. So Starbucks, we have our holiday lattes like gingerbread, eggnog. They launch in October. Or you got your pumpkin spice lattes, which are a huge hit. They usually hit sometime around September. Cliff Bar, your winter hike can include snacks like pecan pie and pumpkin pie. Kraft, the famous mac and cheese, gets the snowman treatment during the holidays. Oreo, enjoy candy cane flavored cookies while you trim your tree. Oreo also used to do the green and red colored icing for the holidays. Pringles pop a can of cinnamon and sugar chips by the fire. So I mean, there's tons of different brands who do different things for the holidays, and throughout the year they always do kind of different things. I know every 4th of July, Budweiser always comes out with, some sort of Americanized can that, has a lot of like red, white, and blue, some sort of, USA theme to it, whether they put like a bald eagle on it or something like that. So, it's not just a Christmas time thing. It's, year round where pretty much any holiday that's coming up, they're going to have some sort of, specialized, treat for everybody. Product life cycle. So this is a theoretical model that happens, sales and profits for a product class over time. So product life cycle stages. Going to start out with an introduction, go into growth, maturity, and then finally the decline. So here is a kind of a list of different people who have passed away over the years, but yet they're still able to make tons of money for their estates. So I mean the top one there, Michael Jackson, makes about $75 million a year. Arnold Palmer at $40 million a year. Anybody who drinks the Arnold Palmer beverages, that's where a bulk of his estate is coming from. And then Elvis Presley. Elvis is a huge star still, makes $35 million. Tom Petty just passed away, a couple years ago. He's got the Tom Petty channel on Sirius XM radio, which is a huge, benefit for him. Even, Dr. Seuss, John Lennon, Albert Einstein, all these people are still very, very marketable and still bringing in a lot of money, even though, they've passed away years previously. So some of the pricing objectives, achieving a target return on investment or profit. You want to build traffic, achieving greater market share, creating an image, and then furthering social objectives, both short and long run. We'll kind of go over those here in a little bit. So cost-based pricing, that's going to be measuring cost of producing a product, including material, labor, and overhead. Demand-based pricing, that's going to be target costing. So you're going to design a product so that it satisfies customers, it meets the profits margin desired to the firm. Competition-based pricing, that's a pricing strategy based on what all the other competitors are doing. And then price leadership, which is the strategy by which one or more dominant firms set the pricing practices and all competitors in an industry sort of follow behind. Break-even analysis. This is the process used to determine profitability at various levels of scale. And then the break-even point is where revenue equals cost. So we kind of use that in the I think it was one of our first chapters where we were talking about a lemonade stand. To where you got to get to that break-even point. I mean, if you spent $10 in groceries for your lemonade stand, your break-even point was going to be at $10 at that point. You got your total fixed cost. Those are all the expenses that remain the same no matter how much products are made or sold. And then you've got variable costs that can change according to the level, of production. Okay, so we're going to go into a break-even analysis here. So here's a really good example of that. So if you have a fixed cost of $200,000, a variable cost of $2 per item, and you sell your product for $4 each, what would your break-even point be? So we're trying to figure out how many items that we would have to sell at this point. So what you're going to do is you're going to divide the $200,000 by the $4 each that you're selling it for minus the variable cost of $2 each for that. So essentially what you're going to come up with is $200,000 divided by $2 each, and it comes out to be 100,000 products. So you're going to have to sell 100,000 products to get to your break-even point on that. If you have any questions on that, obviously, you can always email me about it, and then also your book walks you through that as well. So skimming price strategy, this is a strategy in which a new product is priced high to make optimum profit while there's little competition. So what you can do is if you do have like a new product that comes out, like the iPhone whenever it first came out, I mean they could have charged a really big really big price for that, made a really big profit, and then once competition gets introduced, they lower that price point. You got a penetration strategy, which is a strategy in which a product is priced low to attract many customers and discourage competition. And then you've got everyday low pricing, which is setting prices lower than competitors and then not having any special sales on it. You've got high-low pricing strategy, setting prices that are higher than the everyday low pricing stores, but have many special sales where the prices are lower than the competitors. And then you've got the psychological pricing, where pricing goods and services at price points that make the product appear less expensive than it is. Along with this, what you can do is you can oftentimes say that you're running a sale, kind of like with the psychological pricing, and say something is 50% off and still charge full price on it. So there's been a lot of studies done on that saying that you can get a cell phone at 50% off, charge the original price for it. People think they're getting a deal, but in fact you're still just charging that original price for it. Competition on attributes other than price. So product images, overall comfort, style, convenience, durability, company and services. So I mean, this all factors in to that overall price of everything. So I mean, if you feel like you're getting a good deal based on all of these, then you probably are getting a pretty good deal. So that's all I got for this chapter. So we will see you next time in chapter 15.